Hello and welcome to Reviews. As always, I'm Plume Noir, and this is Marvel Zombies: The Return. I find it interesting that today is the day before Halloween, and we get the first issue. Did I call it The Return? It's Marvel Zombies: Resurrection. The Return was a different series. Halloween is tomorrow, so we get the beginning of Marvel Zombies Resurrection on the same day that DCeased number 6, the last issue of that main series, is being released. So if you are not tired of zombies, zombie superheroes, well, here you go. As that one ends, here comes another one. Although DC is doing more in their DCeased line, so yeah. Anyway, about Marvel Zombies. The series, the original Marvel Zombies, not quite the original. The term actually was referred to Marvel fans. The Marvel Zombies. It was kind of a cutesy term that's been going back for decades. The Marvel eventually decided that they were going to make a series based on it. It actually originated out of Ultimate Fantastic Four. A three-issue series, a three-issue story arc where, sorry, I'm fighting JR. He's being a jerk tonight. A three-issue storyline where, you see, at that time, the Ultimate Universe and the Marvel 616 universe did not interact. That was kind of like a little rule. They would not cross over. And so in Ultimate Fantastic Four, it looked like the 616 Fantastic Four was paying a visit, but they did a bait and switch, which was actually kind of funny. It wasn't really the 616 FF, it was the Fantastic Four from another universe where a zombie plague had taken over and the superheroes were all infected. And they crossed over into the Ultimate Universe to hunt down basically more meat. It was a nice bait and switch, which led into the Marvel Zombies, the original series, which was penned by Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead fame. And Walking Dead premiered back in 2003, so I was 16 years ago. Guy's been doing zombies for a very long time. And the first series was pretty good. Very dark, still had its humorous bits. And unlike most series where the depiction of zombies is that, yeah, they're undead, but they don't have any of their personality, with Marvel Zombies, they had their personalities and their powers. Although certain things were nerfed, like Wolverine's healing factor no longer worked because, well, he was dead. Um, Unfortunately, the series was so popular that Marvel decided to keep milking it. And which each one, it got, I don't want to say progressively worse, it got a lot worse with each series. And it lost a lot of the humor once Kirkman was gone and a lot of the interest. They eventually did do Marvel Zombies: The Return, which was kind of like putting the cap on the series, and where they finally ended the zombie plague once and for all. And that was several years ago. And now Marvel's decided to bring it back. Marvel, the House of Ideas. Up until about 1992, and maybe about up to 2005. I think that's about when it died. Um, anyway, I think DCeased, being as popular as it's been, has it's been really pretty much paramount in why Marvel decided to bring Marvel Zombies back. And this is Marvel Zombies: The Resurrection. I keep wanting to call it The Return, and it doesn't help that I have the variant cover, which is, I think, a variant cover of the variant cover of X-Men #1. I've gotten to the point I can't even keep track of what's a variant anymore. Marvel, I mean, DC's kind of doing it too, but they generally have one or two. But Marvel's putting out a lot of variant covers. At what point did Marvel decide that they're just going to start doing all the bad ideas from the 90s? The gimmicky covers and stuff. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So Marvel decided, basically to bring back Marvel Zombies just in time for Halloween. So my phone's shaking. I'm kind of petting JR, trying to keep him out of the camera here. So, and every time I move my hand, he rushes in. So the series starts off, basically with a call from Captain Marvel. I don't want to get too spoilery, so I'm going to try and go through this kind of quickly. Um, there's someone floating in space. They get a call from Captain Marvel. So, um, one thing about the original Marvel Zombies was uh, it was noticeably different, the heroes. Except for at first with the Ultimate Fantastic Four series, once you got into um, the Marvel Zombies series itself, it was obvious it was not the 616 universe. It seemed almost like the universe had stopped in the 70s. Characters were wearing a lot of their outfits they wore in the 70s, like um, Luke Cage was still in his yellow and tiara outfit, yellow shirt tiara. Um, Iron Man still had his classic, I can't even keep track of what Mark version of the armor, but the one with the circular shoulder things and the hip pods. Um, and Captain America was Colonel America for some reason. Um, but it was obviously, at a glance, not the Marvel Universe. Now, I guess there will be some spoilers on this, but I'll try not to spoil too much, but just so you've been warned. We see this opening up. They get the call from Captain Marvel. We have current looking Reed Richards here. Tony Stark, what's that? Hank Pym, Hank McCoy, Steve Rogers are addressing this message they got from Captain Marvel, and it turns out the message is a little bit garbled, but it's Galactus, and he appears to be dead. That's not a good thing. So they discuss what they're going to do. Um, is Galactus dead? If so, they have to go out and figure out what happened. Keep other races from harnessing Galactus's corpse, because even dead, he's still pretty damn powerful. Um, and then try and determine what's going on. Maybe he was coming to attack Earth. Maybe he died. Maybe he was coming to Earth for help and died. Maybe he's not dead. So basically, they don't know what's going on other than Galactus is floating motionless at the edge of our solar system. So the Avengers decide to get everyone together. I guess you would say almost the Illuminati here decide to get everyone together. They get the Avengers, they get the X-Men, they get the Fantastic Four. Basically a small group of each, not the whole teams and everything. And, basically they're most powerful. It's funny they have Spider-Man here. Like, what's he going to do in space? No, Spider-Man's going to stay behind and babysit. So they get in a Quinjet. They got Magic there to help them escape should they need to. And we get a little bit of the banter going back and forth. It's pretty enjoyable. And then they get to the edge of the solar system and they find Galactus. And he looks very, very dead. He looks pretty much like he died in pain. So Wolverine happens to notice that something moved inside Galactus's mouth. And so they do the best idea, I guess you could say, is they decide to go inside Galactus. Yeah, okay, fine. There is one bit that I absolutely love that they worked into this. I don't know how often this has come up in stories. I think it came up in the last Galactus story, maybe in the original, in the old Fantastic Four. I know it came up in John Byrne's run, so I don't remember if it was in the Fantastic Four or if it was in his Epic Illustrated that was never finished, the last Galactus story. But basically, every sentient creature sees Galactus in their form. A human would see Galactus like this. I should say more like this. A Skrull, he would look like a Skrull. Kree, he would be this but blue, I guess you would say. I'm trying to think of more. I guess Groot would see him as a giant tree. And so that's how humans and all the races, they perceive Galactus because he's so powerful, he's so beyond us, that our minds have to reimagine. They can't process what we're seeing. So when they get inside, of course, now they're inside Galactus. Well, what happens is, Reed gets all science bonery on this, that he realizes that the insides of Galactus are even basically reassembling themselves to fit the human perception of what Galactus should appear to be, inside and out. Minor little thing, but I really enjoyed that little touch of detail. Although that doesn't really explain what would happen if a Skrull landing party or some other creature with very different anatomy had been inside when humans got in. I mean, what if they had two hearts and they were in one heart and the humans go in another? Anyway, I'm going off the rails on this. I really like this detail. You know, Reed works a little bit, makes the allusion to the whole concept in quantum physics that, you don't, a position is not relative until it's observed. I mean, very basic level comic book terms, but, observation changes the results. I went off on a very long tangent on that. So a lot of spookiness. You just know something bad's going to happen. Magic's a badass, we know that. And I'm going to stop really soon here. So they get inside, they find out who ducked in, and, well, cut away to the other group as basically Reed wants to get a little bit, take Galactus back to Earth. They find out that basically Galactus is being basically retrofitted to be a spaceship. Yeah, that's not good. They're not detecting the power cosmic at all. And the person they see ducked in was now zombie Captain Marvel. So at this point is when it's determined it's not our universe. That's why I brought up earlier about the Marvel zombies appearing to be more like a 70s version. This almost looks like, as it's going on, it could be current day 616. And I wasn't sure. I kind of had a feeling that it wasn't going to be, but you get about halfway through the issue and you're not sure. And you get to this and you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely not our universe. So basically, all the heroes have run into an ambush. And pretty much what you expect happens from there. Now, I don't want to go too much farther into the book. I still got a ways to go, I could, but I'm going to stop because who lives, who dies? I mean, obviously, it's a alternate universe zombie tale. People are going to die. It used to be like the What If series was who dies and how does it affect everything? Well, that's kind of what this is. And I don't want to give away who dies and how, but the hunger gospel in the original Marvel Zombies was basically you couldn't quite be cured from it, but if you could retain from eating human flesh long enough, you would eventually the hunger would go away, and it was almost like a drug addiction. This doesn't seem so much like the hunger gospel. In fact, it's almost hard to see how it's transmitted. It does look like sometimes it is a bite, but there's also a character in here who doesn't seem to have been bitten. There's some blood on her outfit, I'll give that away. But she doesn't seem to have been bitten, but she turns like this. Literally, her word balloon changes from the regular to the zombie speak. So, yeah, Carol Danvers and the Guardians of the Galaxy have been converted. They've been zombified. Not quite sure exactly how this type of zombieism differs from the hunger gospel. Like I said, they don't seem to be really intent on eating their victims. So I think maybe it's just zombies in name only. And we don't really know the thing of origin yet. Maybe that will be explained. The story behind the how the hunger gospel got to Earth was kind of explained later on. So it doesn't matter. It's already here. You don't need to know the origin for the story. So yeah, that's Marvel Zombies Resurrection. Again, not quite sure how this compares to the original Marvel Zombies, because the original Marvel Zombies, series, showed they just feasted on humans, and there was a lot of that. That's what they were driven by. They were driven by the hunger. This seems more like DCeased, where they just want to kill people. Now again, that could just be, the first issue. Maybe they'll explain more of that. So I don't want to give too much away. And I turned to just the wrong page I didn't want to turn to. I was hoping to get to one where they're fighting a little bit more. So, yeah, where they run into. When you have the Galactus, you do run into a Herald. So what do I think of this issue? I don't know. I really don't know how I feel about this. I really think the Marvel Zombies, the franchise itself, ran its course. I was even sure if I was going to pick this up because, other than Marvel Zombies The Return, where they did finally put a cap on things and ended it in kind of an interesting way, I was pretty much done. But it is Halloween. I got DCeased as well. Yeah, I couldn't resist. So I figured I'd pick it up, and I would go. Let's go somewhere around 130 on this. It's enjoyable. Again, it's going to be horror, but it feels like we've been down this route over and over and over. Especially coming on the heels of DC, a DCeased, where it's basically the heroes are infected and humanity is effed. We've done this with Marvel Zombies already, which ended up with pretty much all of humanity wiped out. And when you have an alternate universe like this, where anything can happen, can also be a good thing. But when you've been reading long enough, you just know, yeah, everyone's dead. That's just what's going to happen. I actually would have much rather seen this take place in the actual 616 Marvel Universe, where the zombies come over and, they have to deal, maybe even with zombie doppelgangers. But they won't do that because you have a zombie book, you need to have people killed, and all will happen, you'll get some D-list character, maybe two of them become sacrifices. And off the top of my head, I don't even know, maybe Batroc. And I liked him in the first Gwenpool series, so I wouldn't want to see that happen. And what D-list hero could be sacrificed? I'm going through my index in my brain of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, trying to come upon someone, but I just think it would be more interesting in the actual Marvel Universe and not just another alternate universe. So that's why I'm going 130. It's still enjoyable, but we've been here, we've done that. So, and maybe this will get a little bit better. But anyway, that's your Halloween Marvel Zombies. Maybe I'll get a chance to do DCeased tomorrow, the last issue of that. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.